This Ag Business Update brought to you by American Implement, indebted to the past, committed to the future. In a moment, Harries with Kansas Wheat.
When you've had a best friend for over 50 years, you develop a trust. And the Scott Co-op has been a trusted rural friend since 1957. A co-op keeps money in the area, doing business for and with their members. And that helps keep their hometown thriving with keeping money in the community. Scott Co-op is not just an elevator. It's the rural way of doing business. So, when you see an elevator, remember your friends at Scott Co-op.
Would you like to see something done about high gas prices and low unemployment? Western Place Energy in Campus, Kansas is doing something about it. They're a proud part of Growth Energy, America's ethanol supporters, and they employ 38 people and will be adding more following the expansion. Ethanol fuel not only reduces the cost of regular gasoline, it's good for the environment and keeps money right here in the United States while supporting local rural jobs. Western Plains Energy, doing something for the future.
And joining us now is Harries, Vice President of Operations and Research for Kansas Wheat. Hi, Aaron.
Hi, Ken.
Well, it's that time of the year. The Wheat Quality Council Tour has wrapped up, and we want to talk a little bit about the numbers and what the participants saw around the state of Kansas. I don't think it's much of a surprise to any of us that in some areas you just didn't find much.
Yeah, and in fact, there were days or portions of day two where we struggled to find a wheat field that we could actually pull over and do a measurement in, because we don't count fields that are zeroed out or will be abandoned in that day's average. We do account for those abandoned fields when we calculate our final production for the state. But we try to stop randomly, look at the odometer every 20 to 30 miles and stop. And there were a couple of times where I was looking to the left and right, and there either weren't any fields or they had been terminated or they were 5 or 6 inches tall, and we knew they weren't going to be harvested. So that was kind of symbolic of the whole tour.
Well, we do know that even in some of the areas where a lot of this wheat's going to be abandoned or just doesn't have much, you do find some fields. I noticed some of the posts out in the far western parts of Kansas where you did find some good wheat.
Yeah, there were pockets. I like to call them little wheat oases, I guess. But we ran into one around Jetmore. They're not very big, but I wasn't on the route in west central Kansas. But I think there is some good wheat in spots, in that Sharon Springs area. But again, that's few and far between. The wheat did improve as we moved back towards south central Kansas. You had to get pretty close to Wichita for it to start to improve. But even yields on the final day in south central Kansas were still about 10 bushels lower than they were at this time last year. And we all know that was a small crop too.
Well, give us some perspective. I think we talked an awful lot about what to expect on this tour. Some of it came to fruition, but this is not the first time we've had low projected yields.
No, it's not, but it is historical. So our total production estimate was 178 million bushels, and we looked back at the end of the tour, went way back on some numbers. So if that number is realized, that's the smallest production in Kansas since 1957. And so that is amazing. Our calculated average yield was 30 bushels an acre, and I think it's going to be tough to hit that, and the abandoned acres account for it. So this is historical, although in 1957 that was on twice the acres. So if there is any silver lining, it's that we're even harvesting a crop this year, and it's a credit to genetics. You get a little rain, and these wheat varieties respond. They'll send up one tiller. It's not multiple, and it's one head, and it's small, but it's going to focus now on making some grain and hopefully some decent quality grain. But it's just going to be a super small crop.
Harries is Vice President of Operations and Research for Kansas Wheat. We're talking about the wheat tour. We're going to take a break, come back, and talk about where do we go from here. We'll do that in just a moment.
cost of everything has gone up dramatically over the last 75 years. With one exception: keeping electricity affordable.
Wheatland Electric, delivering energy for life, your Touchstone Energy Cooperative.
S&S Trailer Sales, with 2 locations in Ness City, Kansas, is where everybody goes to buy or rent trailers. They feature the all-new, all-aluminum Mauer grain trailer with all of the electric options, the easy-to-load detached trailers, and a huge stock of header trailers. At the west location, you'll find bumper pulls, goosenecks, and oilfield specialty trailers, along with flat and utility beds for pickups. S&S Trailer Sales in Ness City and on the web, but remember, you do have to spell out the and.
And our guest is Aaron Harries, who is Vice President of Operations and Research with Kansas Wheat. We focused on the wheat tour. Now, I guess, Aaron, let's talk about where do we go from here if we know we're going to be challenged with bushels. I guess if there is a silver lining, we may, just because of weather conditions, and we may have another year of some good protein.
Well, absolutely. I think so. I think the book is written on that. It'll be a higher protein crop. And last year, when we got these late rains in May, it helped fill those kernels out nicely. So we had, unexpectedly high test weights with that high protein. So it's a good milling and a good baking crop. There just won't be a lot of it, so our domestic market will be able to make do with it. There's going to be some opportunities. There's going to be a big soft red winter wheat crop in the eastern part of the United States. And so we'll have to get creative on some blending and things. But, it might be an interesting scene at harvest time too, Ken. It's going to be a ghost town at the grain elevators where you would normally see long lines of trucks. So it's a domino effect with a small crop like this. It just is going to have impact down the road for quite a while.
The other thing to think about too are those registered and certified seed and seed we know was a challenge before. This is going to be another one, but also, Aaron, one thing we can say is some of these new varieties, this is going to be a good test for them, and some are doing okay considering the challenges they've had since last fall.
Yeah, if we're ever going to test drought tolerance, this is the year to do it. And I keep kidding that we need to name some of these varieties Lazarus at some point. But we saw that on the tour, where their plant had clearly been drought stressed for most of the season, and then caught a rain in the last few weeks. And the top half of the plant is green. It's got a green stem, maybe one leaf, maybe that one flag leaf and a small head, but it just shows the survival ability of these new varieties. They're going to produce grain, whether you can harvest it or it's worth the harvest. But yeah, tip of the hat to the wheat breeders. We really have come a long way.
Well, Aaron, appreciate the time to visit about, the wheat tour and kind of where do we go from here. There are challenges, but I say there's no one more resilient than a Kansas wheat farmer.
Absolutely, they have to be, and we are thinking about them, and it's been a tough 2 years. There's younger farmers who've never seen anything like this, but you're right, they'll bounce back, and the rain's coming back, and we'll see how things look in the fall. Hopefully, it's a completely different story.
Well, Aaron, thanks again, and we'll talk with you as we go down the road here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for the time.
Aaron Harries, Vice President of Operations and Research for Kansas Wheat, has joined us. We will have more coming up in just a moment.
Wolfter Construction and Irrigation has been around a long time, and a lot of folks have trusted them to design, build, and service all sizes of commercial and on-farm storage for grain and equipment. Wolfter is also known for their outstanding irrigation division, where they stock a complete selection of nozzles, regulators, drops, gear drives, electrical, and structure components. Looking for an electric motor? Wolfter has a large selection in single and three-phase. Next time, reach out to the pros who have decades of experience at taking care of business the right way. Wolfter Construction and Irrigation.
KBUF Radio has agriculture information for you every weekday from 6 a.m. to 11. We start out with Tony St. James with Agriculture Today, then the KBUF Morning Show from 7 until 11. We talk a lot about newsmakers, also what's going on in the markets, and have key interviews with newsmakers along with weather and a lot of information to help you make good decisions on the farm and ranch. Follow along on our social media pages, or you can listen to KBUF or any Western Kansas broadcast station online, westernkansasnews.com. I'm Ken Rogers. Thanks for watching.